Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10 of the Ask Engine show. Super excited for episode number 10 because 10 is subsequently my favorite number. So it's going to be a good episode. John, like we said yesterday, is gone without us for the rest of the week in New York, hanging out there. And so bringing back for episode number 2, the crowd wanted you back. Jim,
I was hoping.
Jim is back with us, and so we've got 2 questions, really short episode for you today, and let's go ahead and jump in.
Yeah, our first one is marketing to marketing directors. So do you have any tips for platforms or agencies, how they build new business, how they build new business online? This agency owner has found it increasingly difficult to get in front of people. So how would you approach building your business as an agency?
Yeah, so a lot of this is... There's a lot of things that are going to be particular to your situation, so I can't really answer very well there. So I'll kind of take this question up and then down low and kind of go in the clouds and then tactical. So in the clouds, the first thing you need to realize is that if people are not coming to you for your work, you're automatically in a position where you have no leverage in the relationship, which is not a great place that you really want to be. When you're working, ultimately, you need to have either reputation. You need to go and do something, what John always says, what have you done? You need to have the street cred to be able to go in and command the respect of a business that wants to work with you. So ways to do that, if you haven't already done that, is to go work for another agency, white label for an agency, build up a reputation, give it 18 months, and then come back and revisit once you have a body of work under you. Assuming you've done that, ways to develop business, what kind of contracts are you going after? Are you going after, Fortune 500 companies? If you're playing in the S&P, then you've got to behave like an S&P company, and that's RFPs, it's relationships. You're not going to get in with a cold email unless you're just very lucky. If you're playing a little bit further down, then again, it's about relationships, but it's about starting the relationship. So number 1, putting out content relevant to the type of business that you market for. So if it's e-commerce, put out e-commerce content. If it's real estate, put out real estate content. Ask to be on relevant podcasts, publications, things like that. Build up a little bit of noise behind you.
That's the best.
Build up a little noise behind you. This will
Really?
be perfected soon. But yeah, build a little bit of... Sorry, I totally broke my concentration there. Build up a little bit of street cred there, and then reach out saying, look, I've been hosted on this, and this. Retarget the content that you've put out. If someone reads it, re-engage them on a later date, saying, hey, are you interested in this, that, and the other? And then for me, I think the best way to do it tactically is make a list of the 100 people that you want to work for, that you want to run marketing for, and reach out to them directly. Send them something, big golden envelopes. Send them an audit of their current social behavior and what you could do to fix it. Do something to be unique. And we've talked about this a few times on this show. Get their attention and then start a conversation.
Yeah, and I would say if you're a dev shop even, look at the platforms that you're building on and try and find to see if they have an affiliate program for their agencies that can drive business to you, or that you can go to them and say, hey, I'm looking for these type of companies, and there's kind of some deal flow back and forth there. So I would definitely search for affiliate programs for the platforms you're building on.
Yeah, are certifications important? So to be AdWords certified or to be this or that, Facebook doesn't have, they've got the Facebook Blueprint certification, and you can get certified higher up within Facebook, but is that something important, especially from a dev perspective?
I mean, I think at the corporate level,
yeah,
I think there's value that if you can show, hey, we have this pedigree, but I think at the startup and kind of scrappier company level, I would rather see work that you've done or a project or something you've built.
Perfect.
Our next question, so this is a little bit of a longer question, but it basically boils down to how do you build a technical product as a non-technical founder, and kind of how, what does that company look like? How do you need to behave? How do you lead a team of engineers as somebody that's non-technical? And I like this one a lot because it's a challenge, especially if you are extremely removed from a kind of a technical perspective. Leading a team of devs can be super intimidating. I think the first thing you can really do there is learn the language. I think more than anything, being able to speak one-to-one with the devs is huge, so that you understand the context of kind of where they're getting their worldview, and they understand that you know what they're talking about. So understanding the communication language. I'm not saying go out and learn Ruby on Rails if you're working with a Ruby on Rails dev team, but just knowing how to talk to them, I think is really important.
Okay. What do you think?
I totally agree, and I think that it's also important to understand that if this is a person, if you have an idea, but you're not really sure how to implement or execute on that idea, to understand that when you're pitching it to people, they may know more about the difficulty of implementing your idea than you do. Even from a 30-second pitch, and what you see as simple may be anything but. So if they seem a little less enthusiastic than you expected, then you can ask them, say, what about this idea is hard? What have I got wrong? What do I need to change my thinking on? And it's, a lot of times when you're the one who comes up with the idea, you're very personally invested in it, you want to have a lot of passion for it, and you should do those things. But you may not be able to see some of the pitfalls that an experienced developer can hear almost as you're telling them the idea. So just have a good understanding of how the relative amount of effort involved in kind of perfecting an idea versus executing on it.
Yeah. And I think, so I am not technical at all. Like if you put me in front of a computer, I will most likely break it at one point or another. I think that something here that was challenging in my company that I owned was that I had a partner in that company who was light years ahead of me from a technical perspective. I mean, like the most technically advanced conversation I could have with him was elementary to him. And what I realized is that it was not my job to understand the technical aspects of whatever we were doing. It was my job to communicate in a way that he felt valued and that he was allowed to go in and do what his zone of genius allows him to do. So I would also say learn the language, but also don't be afraid to give up control in areas that you should not be controlling. If you're in a position to where you're running a company and you're the smartest person in that company, that's a bad company. Your ability to manage those people and communicate with those people and get the best out of them is what is going to allow you to be a leader, essentially. So kind of wrapping this question up, I know for both of you it's kind of different aspects, but John is not really necessarily a technical founder.
He's more technical than most.
Okay. Actually,
when we were together in college, I convinced him to take his first computer programming class. That's back in the Stone Ages, but he has had that. He had experience growing up. He and I both programmed on home computers. So I've been very lucky to have him with that level of experience. So he does understand. I think he has enough training to understand the sometimes hidden difficulty in doing certain things. So that's been very helpful.
Mm-hmm. From a management style, what would you recommend, you being the technical co-founder in this hypothetical situation, someone coming in and incentivizing you, how would you want to be approached? And that's kind of for both of y'all.
I mean, I think that the approach most people take is the right one, to say, I have this idea, I really want to implement it. Does this idea interest you? And if it doesn't interest you, who should I be talking to? Don't assume that your idea is automatically worthy of that person's attention, that they're even interested in it. So make it more as a pitch for help. Can you help point me in the right direction? Because you can be honest. You could say, I really don't know. I don't even know what I don't know yet about this idea. And I have gotten a few pitches like that, and in most cases, I've said, I'm not the person to do that, but here's who you should talk to. So I think that a lot of the developers you'll speak to are more than willing to give you advice if they don't feel like you're trying to rope them into something.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think back at Hasty, we kind of had an adage that a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and there are a few people that have the skills to execute those ideas. So I think approaching with humility and understanding, like Jim said, of we'll be building this together rather than, do you want to come work on my idea, I think provides a lot more access to somebody actually wanting to go through with and build your startup.
Perfect. There you go. Like I said, short episode for today, and we will see you tomorrow. I totally wasn't recording from Evo.
Really?
No!
I think I'll be able to catch it from that.
Oh.
Party foul.
Man.
So we missed that shot of falling down.
I think your phone got it.
Wow, it's 4:40.